Dale Napierski, physical education teacher here at Buffalo School 64. In our gymnasium this year, we have boxes on the ground that are for students to work out in. And today I'm going to demonstrate a few of the locomotor movements and maybe some non-locomotor movements that students could practice, some of which they've not seen before. So a lot of the times we have students, again, warming up at home who don't have these boxes, but this box is pretty much the guideline for the students once they enter the class. Now, we commonly do motions where we jump forward and back in our warm-up each day, but what I could do for asking students to develop control is to try to land on the line and balance. Okay, so you land on the front line, land on the back line, and they could also go from side to side, because we do cover this in our warm-up, but I have not asked students to try to balance on a line yet. So also, if you stand on this like a diamond is another idea. I had this idea of, instead of just jumping forward and back, which I would call lateral, okay, lateral movements. So there's also a way to move in a diagonal, and then to kind of combine the jumps. So this would be on the topic of like pathways. So in pathways, you have straight, you have curved, and you have zigzag. Well, the zigzag is part of a diagonal. So what I would do, instead of just jumping, I mean, this could be a progression where maybe you jump forward, back, and side to side. That could also be combined with jumping on the lines like this, and then maybe in a reverse order, jumping on the four corners. But my other idea, okay, was where I was jumping on the lines initially, forward and back, side to side. And you can try both methods. And then the third one, I call an hourglass. So there's an X. You imagine it in the box, and you're going to jump in a diagonal, then it's to the side, okay? I didn't do it in sequence there, but if I went to diagonal, then to the side, then to the diagonal, and to the side. So this is an X, and I'm following the path, and I also have heard this called hourglass. So here, I go diagonal, sideways, and then I can do it backwards, diagonal, sideways, sideways. Now, based on fitness level, maybe body control, how much balance the person can maintain, because for a moment I felt there as I got tired, it's harder to keep your balance. So this is a chart that talks about intensity awareness scale. Intensity is a concept that we want to introduce our students to, and it has to do with how much energy you're using, or how much effort you are giving. Okay, so like level 1 is 0 intensity. You're just relaxed and ready to move, not even in motion. Okay, at 0 level intensity. But then as you go up higher and higher, it's very light intensity and then light. Okay, so I could do these jumps at a slow pace. It doesn't have to be fast, but it can vary. Some people might be able to work intense, but if another person has to work slower to maintain the control, then that's fine. So a couple other ideas I had were to stand on this facing like a diamond and to come back to the starting point. So this is like an open triangle, and what I'm doing, if I cut this square in half, I'm imagining that I'm just working on stepping along the lines of a triangle. My foot goes to the point. Okay, this can later be described as something used for not just coordination, but agility. So I lower my body to keep my balance better. I can change direction. So maybe I got a football and I want to run and fake that I'm going to run one way and run the other way. So this is where I keep coming back to the common point. And then another way is to start at this point, do something like this. Later on, you could incorporate something like a basketball or something else to do the skill with. But this is one way to work on changing your feet. So these are the two triangles. This I'm at the point of a diamond on the top, stepping backwards, okay, switching feet. And the other one, I was at the bottom point of a diamond and taking turns stepping and lunging to each side. Now this can also later be used with other things, even without implements, like just using your hands, okay? But for now, I just want to introduce those general body motions. There's also where you travel all the way around the triangle. So I didn't show that, but that would be, this is going counterclockwise, and this is going clockwise. If I went around the triangle. So if I had to think of this diamond as perhaps a baseball diamond, this would be home base, first, second, third, and I'm not following. Maybe in the lower level progressions, you can have kids jump and number the corners. But later on, I don't go from first to second. I go from first, back home, and then the third. Okay, so you can find a way with the students to make a reference. You could call a corner a number, okay? Or if you're doing this at home. So the idea, again, with the full triangle was I imagine where there's no line here, but if you bisect a square with a diagonal line, then you have two triangles. So I'm traveling to one corner and then back to the other corner. So I will keep going in one direction while stepping forward to the side, then back. Forward to the side again. You might imagine you got a football and that's the move you might use, like to go this way and that way. You can teach, acceleration and deceleration. So I hurry up, but then I slow down and I change direction. So I'm learning control, okay? And if I can go around the triangle this way, then I can do it the other way. So just to recap, this is a footwork drill. It really helps with coordination, and it builds and develops agility. And if I can do that full triangle from the bottom of the diamond, I can also do it from the top. So I might look like this. I know sometimes kids will play, and here's the other direction. So I try not to have 2 feet staying on one corner. When one foot arrives, the other one leaves. And that's a bit of a lesson that they could take away for baseball later on, perhaps, such as if you're the base runner on first base, when the other base runner arrives, you have to go. Later on, I was showing the triangle steps here. I just wanted to complete a couple more cycles of the full triangle here, here. Sometimes kids will do like this, and they will sort of play to see what the other person will do. Let's say we're playing a game where there's a middle line, and you shouldn't cross, and if you do cross it, the other side can get you, such as in capture the flag. So sometimes a student might step to just get a reaction, and then maybe they'll take off. So I'm just sort of saying that because maybe that could be an application of switching your feet. But here, I'm just sort of working in my triangle, going around. So I have this foot on the point, then the other foot on the point. 2 feet don't really occupy the same point. And if I did it backwards, okay, I could go like this. Or I could do it, what you would say, counterclockwise. So, just to recap, I was at the top of the diamond. I switch. Okay, this again could be used later with punching or other things. I was also at the bottom of the triangle. In the same way I step here, it could be used with punching. Okay. Doesn't have to be all the time. This was going all the way around the triangle in that direction. This was going around in that direction. And then there's also a box step where you might come here. And again, if I were working, say, the jam with no instrument, just the empty hand. Okay, your jab's your front punch, your front hand punching, or your lead hand. So this is one way a person could work. Both leads, both hands in the box. There's also where you could have your back facing into the box and step forward into this jab position versus you also move side to side. Okay. So these are just some ideas I want to expand upon because we've got some video footage that shows the right time for a student to throw a punch or a kick. And the games are interactive and fun, but I think that my students need a little more practice with keeping their balance and working on squares because we have to stay in them. And eventually I would like to add 5 kicks with each leg and focusing on direction. So as far as stances also, I wanted to introduce this as like a horse riding stance, sometimes using Kung Fu, Karate, Taekwondo. If your weight is balanced 50-50, okay? When you put more weight on one foot, this is sometimes called a cat stance. And it should be developed so you can turn in each direction. Here I'm doing it sort of, here's my horse stance with feet on the line. The weight is balanced evenly, 50% on each leg. Then I put like 85% or so on one leg. This other leg just bears a little bit of the weight. So here I'm shifting my weight. So these are weight transfers. And we also did discuss the plyometric exercise, which is explosive, up forward, back, also just side to side, that's lateral. Okay, and then we included the diagonal line along with the lateral, diagonal and lateral. And I would call this an hourglass if I traveled that pattern. Okay, then I could do it in reverse. So that's a way to safely stay in a little spot, add some motions with jumping, with balance, and to work on agility and coordination. Later on, a person could learn about just athletic position, bending your knees, being ready to move in any direction. In boxing, when we do that and throw certain punches and kicks, sometimes your stronger side will be back. Okay, kind of like this. So we can use the box for that purpose, or maybe work in different directions. Okay, and work on just facing different directions. So these are some of the ideas I wanted to share about movement, about intensity, and when you're at extremely intense, you can only keep this up for a limited time. Okay, and when you're at maximum intensity, like a full sprint, you feel that I can't do this much longer without stopping. So I hope this gives you some ideas for movement, and I also hope that you can understand better what is sometimes called the rate of perceived exertion, which means how hard does the person feel that they're working. So I could look at my students, and even though I can use this scale to say, well, I'm going to rate where I think someone's working at that day, another way this tool is used is for a self-assessment. So a student would be asked, hey, can you go out and warm up and jog or do a number of things? But you might say, student, work at like 50%. Don't go all out. Don't give it everything right away. Just warm up gradually and build your intensity a little bit at a time.